Well, lots to look forward to then. This summer it's England against India, and India the top test nation in the world, and it really is a treat. And many cricketing fans in England, it will maybe be the last chance to see Tendulkar. And I've been dying to ask you, Michael, what was it like playing against Tendulkar, and when he came out to bat, what was the feeling?
Well, I think we'll feel at the end of his career very fortunate to have played on the same pitch as him. I think Bradman's talked of in a great light by anyone that was around that era and played against him or got the opportunity to go and watch him. And I think Tendulkar's going to be in the same breath in 10 to 15 years time that we're all going to be talking about Sachin and did you play with him? Yes, I did. I got him out actually at Trent Bridge in 2001, which is something to tell the grandkids later on in life. But he's a wonderful player. It's the ability that he's had to cope with the pressure. You've got to remember that when he walks to the crease, the whole of India stops. He's more important than the Prime Minister and the President in India. Is the most powerful man, if you like, in their country, and he's pretty much held the nation's hearts of cricket for 20 years, and 1 billion people watch him when he walks to the crease. And if he gets out, when you've been in an Indian ground in India and his wicket goes early, well, you can hear anything drop, never mind a pin, anything that you drop you just hear. And I guess that's what he's had to deal with and cope with, and he's done it with such grace and wonderfully well. He's at Lords at the minute, actually. He's hitting balls, so he's obviously not in the Caribbean. He's not gone to that series, I believe. He's been hitting balls at Lords for the week and taking his lad in there. So we may not see Sachin play so much after this series, but there's a little rumour that we might see his little lad in a few years' time, so we ain't getting rid of Tendulkar that easy.
Yeah, make his debut at 16 and get 100 on debut, something like that. Michael, England 2.44 at the moment for the series win, and India 3.1. The drawn series is 3.4. Now, I've looked at this India price and thinking they're not going to be 2-1 and bigger. Surely at some point they're going to go odds on in those 4 test matches.
Well, you say that, but I mean the second game's at Trent Bridge. And I guess that's why they have England as favourites, because that is the ground. I know India beat us there 4 years ago, but I just don't see their attack. I just think that with England's 3 seamers, they'll have to do a lot of the work. And the problem with England is if the opposition bat 120, 130 overs in the first innings, very rarely do England win. They have to bowl the opposition out pretty quickly. And can they do that against an Indian batting lineup that's so strong? I think they can at Trent Bridge, because the ball's going to swing, and the groundsman will do as much as he can to help the England team by putting grass on the wicket. Look, it may bring Zaid Khan into the equation, but I just don't see, without knocking their attack too much, I don't see 20 wickets apart from if Zaid Khan gets 10 of them in a match, and he may do that because he's outstanding. But when you've got young lads who are coming into a team and bowling in English conditions for the first time, it can take 2 or 3 games to get used to the conditions, and by that stage England could be ahead. And if England get ahead, I don't think it's India will come back. And the way India will look to play the series is go big at Lords. They'll try and put England under pressure at Lords, and I think Harbhajan will have to have a good series for India to win, because he'll need to back up Zaid Khan. And if Zaid Khan picks up in 4 matches against 20 odd wickets, India can win, but it's a big ask of a bowler who's very good, but I don't see him doing it like he did in 2006.
And England now the sort of side, if you say maybe if that Trent Bridge test is key, they're the sort of side, if they're in a good position, a strong position, they're good enough now, and the mentality's there to hold that position.
Well, I guess the one thing with England's side is that they're very safe as well. They don't gamble much. You look back at the Sri Lankan series, they played it very deep on that last day against Sri Lanka at Lords. Gave them no opportunity of winning, which is right, but England could have got on with it sooner to put Sri Lanka under more pressure and allow them more overs to bat, knowing that they still couldn't win, but a chance of winning the game. Cardiff got, I guess, a bit lucky, a freak result, and that doesn't happen very often. They did quite nicely at the Rose Bowl. They played it quite aggressively and gambled with a declaration, which was good. But over history of the last 2 years, Andrew Strauss has been quite a safe captain, so you think that there's going to be draws in this series. Dhoni is a gambler. Dhoni will definitely punt in a position of strength. If he thinks his team can win, he goes for it. And I think Andrew Strauss might have to do that if he gets his position in kind of his team in a position where they might have to push on a little bit with the bat to just gamble a little bit sooner with the declaration.
So with that in mind, how are you seeing those prices at the moment for the series, the outrights at the moment, with England favourites?
Well, I think the first game will be a draw at Lords. I think the pitch is so good, and unless it's blanket cloud for 3 days, which very rarely happens, I think that'll be a draw, and I just think it'll be down to England to win at Trent Bridge. And if England go 1-0 up, I think the last 2 wickets will be flat. I think it'll be a 1-0 series. And I just think England have got it to do. I've got the team to be able to capitalise on that second Test match at Trent Bridge.
And markets runs-wise, you think there's going to be plenty of runs away? Trent Bridge aside.
Well, it's an era of the batsmen, and the wickets are good. Bowlers are playing so much in all the different formats that it's hard for them to be 100% on their game all the time. So they might only be bowling at 80% at stages during the series. Bats these days are huge. The technology is producing these massive chunks of wood, and you just time the ball. The outfields are quick. So it's a good era to be a batsman. There's no lightning fast attacks that you fear. There's no real team in the world that could end a career anymore. I don't believe. You look at the West Indies of the 80s; they ended careers. You had a bad game against them, you're out. The Australian side of the late 90s, early 2000s. You had a bad couple of games against them, end of your Test career. I guess Muralitharan could embarrass you for a period, and that kind of. But there's no real bowlers that you feel just at the minute would have the wool over your eyes over a period just to say, look, that's the end of your career. Strauss is the only one that you look at and has a problem against left arm seamers. And he's up against Zaid Khan, the best left armer in the world. So that's the real battle. I think if Strauss wins that battle, England could be onto a winner. If Strauss loses that battle and the captain's having a tough time and the media are questioning whether he should still be in the side and whether he should still be captain, well, it'll be a long series for England, so it's important that Strauss gets off to a good start.
Yeah, and the top bats and top bowlers, I think the layers will be out to get Strauss, and with that first Test at Lords, the ground, he's obviously his home ground, he's done traditionally well at. That's going to be interesting there. With the top bats for both sides, how do you see that? Who are your danger men? Who do you pinpoint, Michael?
It's so hard to pick. I mean, I always think in English conditions you bat the number 4. I think Tendulkar at 4 for India is a good bat because he'll want to go out and high. He'll want to go out with a big bang in England, and at number 4 you miss the new ball, and if it is a good pitch, you pretty much always get a wicket with the new ball, whatever the conditions. So you get a chance to bat at 4, which is always the best place to bat. And if it is swinging around, you basically only get in after 10 or 15 overs anyway, and the new ball's gone. Or it's not as fresh and as hard as it was at the start. I think for England, Jonathan Trott's a wonderful Test match player, and he's very consistent. It's just whether this one-day blip that he's having, I saw against Sri Lanka at Lords that he panicked a little bit. It's just whether he can overcome that. I guess the question mark over whether he should be in the one-day team, and that always affects a player. That if you're having your position aside question, it can sometimes overlap into the Test arena. Cook's in the form of his life, but God, can that continue? Can that carry on for another series? And up against Zaid Khan, I won't be backing either of the left-handers at the top of the order. Peterson's due a big series. I just think Ian Bell's your banker. Ian Bell and Jonathan Trott, 2 very consistent players, but I'd go Ian Bell.
Yeah, they normally trade with the market still waiting to be formed there. For the market is waiting to get flagged up, and those who like to make the markets, they'll be pretty keen on having Bell at around, I'd guess, around about the 5-6 mark.
Well, I think, and he bats at number 5 as well, and again, it's a good position.
Yeah.
4 and 5 in England, and he's hungry, he's technically very good, his mentality is good now, he really believes that he belongs at the international arena, and he's hungry for runs, so I'd expect Ian Bell to have a big series.
The Indian top bat could be 7-2, all of them, couldn't it, really?
Yeah,
the top 6?
Just pick them out of a hat. I wouldn't go for the top 2, and even drive it at 3. I think it's difficult in English conditions to really have a big series consistently batting in that top 3, because the ball at stages will do plenty. I think 4 and 5, Tendulkar or Laxman.
Yeah, OK, and on the bowlers, with the English conditions, Tremlett's been bowling superbly.
Tremlett could get wickets because of his height, and the Indians won't fancy that. It'll all depend on conditions. If it's good for games in terms of weather, I'd go Tremlett. They play Swan nicely. I think he may get asked more questions than he has done in his Test career in this series. And if the conditions are cloudy, Anderson, without question. And for the Indians, I only see one man, and that's Zaid Khan.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting, that Zahir Khan and Andrew Strauss matchup. Make sure you follow us and Michael's columns, betting.betfair.com. They'll be going on throughout the course of the summer. Make sure you check those out on the web and join us for the next instalment of this Betfair Cricket Podcast.